One of the reasons every team wants a space five is because you don't have to do a whole lot execution-wise. You can run pick and pops, and then the defense has to honor that. It opens up the floor, it opens up driving lanes, a new offense or different sets and play calls and stuff. He should be pretty much plug and play.
That's right, Steve. Gui Santos was on, and he kind of crushed it. So you've got that act to follow.
Pressure's on him.
Yeah. So here we go. And in fact, can you take us through the embrace that you had with him after the game last night? This win, the one in Phoenix. They at least on TV, they look like they hit different. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, that we played so poorly. The Phoenix game, I thought we played pretty well for much of the night. Last night was just awful until the final 8 minutes, but we hung in there, and Gui has just been so good, really for a couple of weeks straight. Every night he's doing so much for us, and just so happy for him. He's doing so well, and he's really worked his way up from when he first got here, and he was in the G League, and he's really made himself into a hell of a player, and he's going to have a long career, and it was just a lot of fun to see him get the game winner.
That was the 11th time you guys have turned it over 20 or more times. You've actually won 4 of those games. How did you go about doing it last night, even though the fourth quarter was just a cacophony of turnovers?
Well, our defense finally kicked into gear the last 6-7 minutes, and we weren't making stops all game, partly because we were turning it over. And I think we finally found the spirit and the energy to kind of get things right. I thought Al Horford had an incredible night, and yeah, we made just enough big plays down the stretch to get it done. If
and when Steph is healthy and Porzingis starts to get mixed into all of that, do you foresee Draymond continuing his similar traditional role, or could it keep adjusting?
Well, I really liked starting Draymond and Al together, when Steph was healthy. We did that, I think, for 5 or 6 straight games, and it felt good. It felt like we had the size and the paint presence to deal with teams, and of course we were still able to handle the offensive side of things because of Steph's presence. But it'll all depend on how things shake out, when Kristaps can play, and what that combination looks like too. We're excited to get him out there, and we've got to figure out, can we put him with Draymond? Can Al and Kristaps play together? They were great in Boston as teammates, as in lineup combinations. So I imagine that will work. But we've got some different options now.
While you mentioned Kristaps, I'm being told that he played some 3-on-3 today. What are you seeing from him in terms of his fitness? And your wheels are probably starting to turn on just how you might be able to use him.
Yeah, they are, and one of the reasons every team wants a space five is because you don't have to do a whole lot execution-wise. You can run pick and pops, and then the defense has to honor that. It opens up the floor, it opens up driving lanes. So it's not like you have to establish a new offense or to put in any different sets and play calls and stuff. He should be pretty much plug and play, but it's gonna take a little bit of time. He played 3-on-3 today. He needs to get up and down, play full court. But our training staff feels pretty good about where he is and the possibility that he'll play next week.
Now, are you sure, Steve? Because I don't know if you've ever coached someone tall before. Do you know how to do this?
If they can shoot, yes, I know. I know exactly how to.
Okay, perfect. Well, in all seriousness, we wanted to run this by you. David Fizdale came on our show last week and obviously was around Kristaps when they were in New York together. And this is kind of a take that he had with regard to how Porzingis might fit with you guys?
Coach plays through the bigs. I mean, all of the stuff that he runs through Draymond, he can do through Kristaps, and Steve does such a good job of playing through those guys and utilizing their passing ability. The difference with Kristaps that he adds, I think, is it's almost like he gives you two dimensions. He's a lob threat, so when anytime Steph is involved, you got a trigger there. His ability to catch lobs and pick and pop, that's just not an everyday thing in the NBA. So you're talking about Steph Curry coming off of this guy, and if you switch, he's a killer. So he and Steph, that duo is going to be dynamic, and it just fits everything that Coach likes to do. This kid understands not to hold the ball, to play fast, 0.5 and move it. He's smart enough to pick up the concepts of when Steph's off the ball, we're screening for Steph. He's just a really bright dude and a hard worker, and probably the best part about him, I think all you guys will like, is he's a great teammate. He's just one of those guys his teammates really embrace and like.
What's your reaction to what he just said right there?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's flattering, to hear Coach Fizdale speak that way. I mean, we have always played through our bigs. You go back to Andrew Bogut and the initial version of the team in 14-15. We ran almost everything through him. He was such a brilliant passer and lob threat, and we have changed over the years. I would say we've become much more pick and roll oriented, especially this year, based on personnel. But there's a lot we can do with Porzingis for sure, and I think he's a really good basketball player in terms of his feel, his ability to pass, his ability to see the floor. So, yeah, it's exciting. I mean, again, you don't really have to do a whole lot. You just got to get floor spacing, and he knows how to play, and that makes it easy for coaches and easy for the rest of the guys too.
How much will it be a help to Draymond Green? I'm looking at 7 turnovers, and it didn't seem like he was that much in a comfort zone. Maybe he's playing with guys he doesn't normally play with. When you look at the 7 turnovers, what are you seeing from Draymond Green that's different?
Well, no Steph, and because we have no Steph, no Jimmy, we have a hard time kind of creating advantages just off the dribble. Melton can do it, but a lot of pick and roll, and it's a different game without Steph. And so what happens is we start pressing a little bit. I think too, there's some fatigue. The All-Star break's coming. Everybody needs it. I think Draymond needs it. So that was a tough game. Keep in mind the previous 5 or 6 games, he's even more than that. I would say he's actually taken really good care of the ball. I think last night was a one-off in terms of the turnovers. So I think he'll get back to tightening things up. And the more weapons we have with Kristaps, with Steph, the easier the offensive side of the ball will be for Draymond.
Steve, I think you've explained it well that a lot of this has to do with Steph Curry being out, but I'm mindful of the standing within the organization that Draymond has. Maybe no different than when you started to adjust Klay Thompson's role, and he mentally was open with struggling with it a little bit. Is there anything emotional about the adjusting of Draymond's role at all going forward? Or does he handle that very well? What are those discussions like?
Yeah, we talk all the time, and he understands exactly where he is in his career, where our team is. We've had really good conversations about this, about how the last couple of years of your career go, and how you have to adapt and adjust. And I think all great players have to adapt as they get older, and it means different things for different people. You go way back, and Magic Johnson had to learn how to shoot, and Jason Kidd, same thing. All of a sudden, those guys were, much more stationary players, spotting up, shooting threes, whereas they were, attacking like crazy for most of their careers. And MJ went down to the block and shot fadeaways, and Tim Duncan became more of a defensive stalwart, even though he was already a great defender. The Spurs completely shifted their offense to Parker and Ginobili, and And Timmy's probably the best example, I think, of anybody kind of aging gracefully and figuring it out and going out the right way. Still being effective, but acknowledging that he's not as good. And I when I talk about Draymond, amongst those names, it's really at the defensive end where he's made his mark. He's one of the all-time great defenders, Hall of Fame player. So the game gets harder as you get older and your body aches and you don't have quite as much energy. And so the adjustment for Dre has to be more subtle, more in the gray areas and things that we talk about on film. And it's not going to be as obvious as it was with those guys, but he's got some things that he knows he has to do in order to remain effective, but it might look a little different than it has in the past.
One of those things has been guarding a guy who's 7'5", and he'll be in town tomorrow, assuming that the Spurs choose to play their players, back to back. You never know. But if you have Wemby out there, how much is it going to be on Draymond to try to contain the big Frenchman?
Well, he does as good a job as humanly possible on Wembanyama. I mean, it's just it's such an incredible challenge between the size and the skill, but also just the feel. He's such a good player, just with the way he sees the game and his competitiveness. And our 2 games in San Antonio a couple months back, Draymond was just incredible. And it's not like you're going to stop the guy, but you just try to make it as difficult as possible. And Draymond's brain works so quickly; you can just see him processing things out there. And it's really, really fun to watch.